Alright, gonna do a video on making spaghetti sauce. How I make it. Might not be the way you make it. People seem to like it. So, it's been requested I show how we do it. So we're gonna go over the ingredients real quick. Oregano. I'm gonna use about twice as much of that as I am basil. The next one's gonna be about 1 to 2 of these capfuls. Basil, about 1 capful. Parsley, right here, quite a bit of that, about equal to the oregano. Sage, that's probably a bit more than I need there. I got bay leaves, rosemary, thyme, garlic, salt, pepper. We got olive oil, a little bit of dry red wine, mushrooms, onion that's chopped thin. You don't have to go crazy with how thin you chop it, but you want it pretty thin. We want that to cook down. And a pound of Italian sausage. This is the kind in the links. Just take it out of the casing and brown it. You don't want to overcook it, just brown it, get the oil off of it, and strain it, but do not rinse it. And then here we got just some regular white mushrooms we'll cut up. So I'm gonna start. We've got a pan over here. We got the big pan getting hot. We're gonna go ahead and put our olive oil in. Same pan we did the sausage in, just left a tiny bit of that oil in the bottom, a little bit of that fond. And let that go up. We'll get our heat up. I'm gonna get this pretty hot. Next, we're gonna do first thing we're gonna do is the onions. And we're not trying to caramelize those, we're just gonna clarify them a little bit. Okay, good, getting a little heat going in it, good. It's a big eye, it'll heat up pretty fast. As far as dry herbs or fresh, I do have a little bit of fresh thyme and I'm using it, and the rosemary is fresh. I grow that. Everything else is just dry herbs. I think it comes out about the same. If you're using fresh herbs, you don't have to use quite as much of them. For my tomato ingredients, we'll go over those. We're waiting for that skillet, the pan to heat up. I got 2 things of tomato sauce, 15-ounce cans, tomato paste, and diced tomatoes. Another note on the sausage, I stay away from the hot. You can use anything you want. The Jimmy Dean sage is good. Medium heat, though, you don't really want to go with the hot. I don't anyway, but if you want it hotter, you can heat it up individually as you serve it, or put more pepper in it. So, all right, here a little popping going over there. I think we got something going. Let's get our onions in there. A little spoon here. And give those a stir. These should cook pretty fast. I've got it hot. That's the way you want it. It does get on up there, and they'll clarify in just a couple of minutes. For onions, I use yellow onions for this. Sweet onions, it will come out a little too sweet, I think. I don't add sugar. The dry white wine adds a little sweetness. You don't need sweet onions. I had some Vidalia over there, and I actually went out and got a yellow onion for this. Another note, I'm going to be adding the spices at 2 times. Once in the beginning here, and then once after this is cooked for about an hour. And this is going to sit on a soft simmer for a couple of hours. And then after an hour, I'll add more spices at the end. We'll do a final adjustment. Usually, I find it needs a little bit more oregano and a little bit more parsley. Maybe a little bit more basil at the very end. It depends on what you want. I consider spaghetti sauce more of an oregano sauce than heavy on basil. So I tend to add more oregano in. Oregano, I should say this. Here in the continent. We're getting there, getting a little wiltiness, getting a little clearing there. I'm going to back the heat down just a tiny bit. I don't want to scald the garlic, and that's going next along with the mushrooms. And I'm only going to add half the garlic now, and then we'll add half as a finish towards the end anyway. It's pretty easy. I mean, a lot of variations. It's not something you kind of just get used to pouring the spices in. instead of measuring them, I just use the caps and come in the little bottles generally. And kind of make it to taste, however you want it. So that's starting to look pretty good. So let's go with maybe about a tablespoon of garlic, something like that. Nice fresh garlic there. Give it a stir. We'll go ahead and put in the mushrooms. And we'll let this go for a minute. You can really smell that garlic right away starting to give off a lot of odor, so it's not going to take long. You don't want to burn the garlic, it'll be bitter. Turn that down a little bit more. See how we're doing here. All right. The mushrooms don't take very long to cook. 30 seconds or so. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and go these legs with our wine. A little stir there. And that's kind of how I start. Now start adding spices. And go with about a teaspoon of salt. Maybe half teaspoon of black pepper, fresh ground black pepper. Stir. Oregano. Nice healthy bit of it there, about a tablespoon. Let that go in. I've kind of got this on low. It's a strong, powerful eye, but you don't want to really have too much heat in it at this point in time. You're going to be turning it up and the liquids go in. A couple pinches of basil, a little bit more like that. Sage, don't need much of that. And probably, usually I don't re-add sage, so a little bit will go a long way. There we go. Here we got rosemary and bay leaf. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Bay leaf's very important. Put a couple of them in. And we got rosemary. We live in Florida. Rosemary is very easy to grow here. As a matter of fact, the Publix grocery store has it growing all over their parking lot. You don't have to buy it there. You just pick it. And there we go. And we're going like that. Doesn't look like much right now, but it's going to get better. Go ahead and put on our sausage. Don't rinse the sausage, but do drain it thoroughly. I usually will brown it and then drain it until it cools, so I'm getting pretty much all the oil off that I possibly can. You can blot it a little bit, but don't rinse it. So there we go. Get that going. Let the heat up just a little bit here. Let that get hot. Anything we've left out, I don't believe. Thyme, a little bit of thyme. There we go. More of that. That's about it for now. We're going to start adding our tomato ingredients. Put them in. You continue to chop that meat a little bit. Another one. I usually